Hey yo, what's up? This is the Protect Your Neck podcast, and I am your host, Dan Tom. Analyst is work you can find on MMAJunkie.com as well as the Action Network. But on this here program, the Protect Your Neck podcast, we break down high level MMA. That's what we're going to do here today, tonight, whenever you're listening to this. Hopefully it's for the fight because I'm recording this late Thursday night on Hawaii time, 4:20, man. Hopefully you guys all had a good day. It's been a busy one here. More work than play, but nevertheless grateful to be here, grateful to be talking to you guys. Sorry for the tight squeeze as far as the turnaround for those of you tuning in for the Bellator Hawaii first night as far as bets go, because there's some interesting names on there, but I think people of this podcast would probably be drawn to that first night attraction for some betting opportunities that y'all have already replied to me at DanTomMMA on socials, Instagram and Twitter. Although, like I said on Twitter, I won't be as active on that. We'll touch on that in a second. Of course, there'll be notes and usually listener chat shouts, but we're not doing this live. Old school audio episode, which means no video, which is good for me because I don't care to show this face too much. I don't think anybody's missing out, and but it is a bummer for the interactive audience on YouTube, which I'll be uploading audio. Hopefully that doesn't take long. But appreciate all you guys there. Like and subscribe if you're listening to the audio there. Appreciate it. And of course, 5-star ratings and reviews are very appreciative. I actually put a call to arms last time. I haven't checked to see if any of you guys answered it, but please, 5-star ratings and reviews now more than ever. Again, with my main social platform that I was on, just kind of falling apart objectively. Of course, everybody's going to turn it into the culture war BS that's already happening. I'm going to try to push past all that because I really don't care more about disseminating information, making things more efficient. That's what you would hope the site is for as far as Twitter goes. But I'm just trying to be more efficient in my life in general, focus more on the positive things, and just focus on getting work done. A lot of work to get done, a lot to cover. So as per usual, again, notes, we're going to do a quick recap of me getting my ass kicked last week for UFC Kansas. Check the timestamps for when that starts and ends, because that'll roll right into Bellator 294. We'll go from top to bottom. Got takes for you on the main card. Then we'll hop over to Bellator 295, staying in Hawaii, where I currently am, which is why we're in audio, recording this in the legendary Popo Doris's humble abode. My grandma there, not Popo Pinelli, is in police. Popo, kind of derivative of Chinese there. I refer to my grandparents, my grandmother, Gung Gung, grandfather. There you go. The more you know. But yeah, we're going to do that, of course, from top to bottom. And then we're going to jump over to UFC Vegas 71, where I have takes, bets, and all the like. And we're going to do that from top to bottom. We're going to recap picks and plays at the end. And I got bets for you on all events. But Dan, didn't you say you can't bet, the things you cover? Even though you're not a journalist, you try to be journalistic. Yes, I have said that. It doesn't mean I can't per se, because let's be honest, how many journalists both covering the events and not, do betting columns and bet personally, do betting content and all the like. But no. But that being said, hopefully you guys can read between the lines here. But listen. Just because I might not, I might want to limit myself from betting a Bellator card that I try not to bet too much outside of UFC anyways, but yes, a card that I'm covering in person. That doesn't mean Nate Diaz can't bet for me. That's right, folks. We're in the audio episode, so that means we can have a little more fun with the special guest impersonations, as I got to break the fourth wall there, I should say, briefly, so I don't get sued there. But we've seen Nate Diaz make it out here for his bro Yancey, and sure enough, guys, I'm gonna have Nate's going to do my bets for me. You may have seen some bets already logged on my Action Network app. I think if you just search Dan Tom, it should show up there. But But yeah, these Nate Diaz bets, and I also have some legit Popadores plays that are small $20 shots. I'll give you guys those out accordingly. Don't take those too seriously. She is a legend. I may give a brief sum up of that, but I really want to push through. We got a lot to get through. But yeah, Nate Diaz, he's actually going to be stopping by shortly, and he will be talking about the bets that he likes. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And they will be going on my record, and I will be living and dying because, well, what the fuck am I going to do? He's Nate Diaz. What the fuck are you going to do, you Korean food motherfucking eating motherfucker? Like, easy, Nate. Jesus Christ. I know you already got in here. All right? My grandma's in the other room. All right? Easy. Sorry, Popadores. My apologies. And by the way, it's nothing wrong with eating Korean food. It's a Kimchi 2 restaurant, man. I haven't had it in like 8 years. Go easy on me. Yeah, you go easy on the fucking rice bowl there, tub. All right, Nate, thanks. Why don't you go over there until I need you, all right? Go give my Popadora some of your edibles or something, man. She's in a lot of pain. Popadora's got some spinal stenosis going on, so aside from just being old and sending me on wild goose chases to like pick up, pastrami sandwiches from places that like never serve pastrami sandwiches, and just going through that whole honestly, she's in a lot of pain and not doing great. So, between the work and her just not doing too great right now, I've been busy. So I actually even have to turn down going out with some homies tonight that I really wanted to go down. Don't get me wrong, grateful for everything, grateful to be the family, grateful to be talking to you guys. But yeah, focusing on work, focusing on family. Like I said, we're trying to be efficient, trying to focus on the the important stuff. Though a lot of homies close to the heart are out here that I hope to see. So that's basically it going down out here. My usual coverage, of course. I've come out here for not the last one. We had Matt Erickson and Nolan King, whose Yancy Medeiros piece just came out on MMA Junkies YouTube. You definitely should check that out. Matt and Nolan did a fantastic job. Was not able to make that Hawaii trip, but as you all know, 2018 and 2019 ones I was here, those episodes I kind of went into the history of my family gambling with my Popadores, my grandma. She's not your average old Chinese lady, much less. She's in the record books in the United States for women / women of color, even as far as just like businesses, and she had a very successful businesses in her day, and from tourism, travel, to miniature airlines, if you will. So like she did some gangster stuff in her day with flights and whatnot, and on the side, she didn't even need the money. She just loved sports. Again, breaking the stereotypes. She would just have like TVs going, and she'd have a phone and take bets, and she would do her own booking, and she'd run the tapes, have the notepad next to the phone, and that's where I grew up with. My cousins being babysitted by her, and then on the weekends we would set up the card tables for a bunch of people, from family members to even ex-governors of the state would come over and play these illegal blackjack games that were just huge. And my grandma would cook during the daytime, and all us nephews would set up the card tables. So she's a legendary lady. She's in her 90s now, so we are definitely rooting for her the best, and she still cleans up now. She's like cashed multiple futures on Mahomes. NFL's her thing. But yeah, she doesn't know much MMA, but she picked two bets she wants me to place for her small. So I will give you guys those and more. All right, let's go. 10 minutes in. Shout out to the TurmericTonic.com. That's the TURMERIC. I always want to go to America. Tonic, TONIC, of course. The Turmeric Tonic, of course. My guy D loves a turmeric tonic there. Very good stuff. Use code PROTECT15 for 15% off. All right, we are off to the races on that note. I don't have my pop screen, so apologies. I'm trying to keep a decent voice. Also got my grandmother in the next room who's in pain and out of sleep. So you got the pain waking her up. I'm going to try not my best. Hopefully that means Nate too. Motherfucker. All right, we'll see about that. Let's go to the results. We got spanked, and it is again, yeah, I just another reason why I say don't get too high, and again, it's all fun. Do your things, enjoy yourselves. Don't let my curmudgeony, or I'm gonna say Asian American, because we're stereotypically bad at celebrating our wins. Don't let anything I say dissuade you. But at the same time, hopefully you guys can see why I kind of have that attitude, because I had that crazy successful night, but then I went like over like 2 or 3 events in a row. I think like 4 events in a row losing. So the cash I was able to turn out that night, I still have, and did well in that aspect, and was able to do good with that money. But I'm talking about as far as my official record goes with my online monies. Yeah, any good that I officially did on the record has been minus. Just in a few weeks, your luck can change that fast. We're gonna go from top to bottom. Max Holloway cashed for us at the top of the card, but my again, by this time my heart usually gets stomped out, and I just kind of lose interest, which is why it's true and it's honest, but I'm just like, I would prefer not. I do it. I'm grateful to have a job, but at the same time, if you're asking me, I think betting it makes the enjoyment the highest of highs, but the risk of killing the enjoyment on really good things, I don't think that's really worth it, and wouldn't recommend it. So when people say I don't bet, I say that's very smart. That being said, it also makes it extra crappy when people are like, yeah, especially after the fact, like, yeah, the best thing to do is not bet this, and they'll say it to me, and someone who bet it and lost, and I'm like, thanks, that's news I could have used yesterday. Sorry, bad Adam Sandler, but you get what I'm saying, and of course it's well-meaning, but from my perspective, hard not to taste a little bit of the sour grapes. Max Holloway, of course, defeated Arnold Allen, unanimous decision, 49-46, almost across the board. I think you got a 148-47. Drinking some Talk Story Pale Ale, by the way. Shout out to Mark Fellows, who already replied to the post. Just he does it all the time, so I had to give him a little tag and a nod. Loyal listener of the program. But yeah, this next one hurt too, because it was Edson Barbosa defeats Billy Quarantillo, KO knee. And, I'm going off on my, always bet the more proven product veteran at plus money, cash on that big night. Then I get burned on it going to the next UFC card, even though I knew it could have happened, but I'm like, I'll take these any day. And it's not like I'd ignored that. I stated it both in my writing when I went to read what I wrote on the fight, and I'm sure I said it as well on my breakdown here. Again, I've been cashing people pressuring Barbosa since back in the day now, so it's not like it's anything crazy. And I'm a fan of Barbosa, so it's like one of those things where it's like, it's not that I'm mad at Barbosa or the result. Anyway, I'm actually really happy for Barbosa, and you guys know me, very happy for veterans. But this was one of the few times where I went big, and I knew it was irresponsible, but I'm like, man, my timeline is filled with so many people betting chalk they shouldn't be betting, and them cashing and having no acknowledgement or self-awareness of it. And I'm like, maybe the guy with self-awareness who usually doesn't do those bets, maybe I can get away with it this one time. And it was not meant to be bad bet by me, and that's not trying to go hindsight or disrespect my guy Billy Q. I'm not going to be a bandwagoner, still a Billy Q, Billy Quarantine, Billy Quarantillo, Tampa, Buffalo in the house. So I hope Billy Q is okay. Seems to be on good spirits on Twitter. Better spirits than most of us, whether it's about his losing the blue check mark, which to me it's freeing. I was already going to take a break from the place, so I was actually all good with it. But yeah, people are still trying to culture war it. But look to the Billy Quarantillos of the world. He's making a joke with a cheeky smile. And again, happy for Barbosa. Was like the Dariushni, made that read. And as soon as he came out throwing switch kicks, I knew my bet was in trouble, to be honest, even though Billy Q was doing what he needed to do. But we talked extensively of the knee and how that could affect his switch kick and knees and offense coming from that side, which was going to be a crucial to a kind of a dipping wrestle boxer guy like Quarantillo. And we talked about that dynamic. I was just banking that it wouldn't be there. And another reason why I should have known, not trying to do the woe is me thing, but let's be honest. again, when I go against I spend most of my, and this is another why this is frustrating. I feel like I've spent the better part of a decade being the guy having to defend my underdog veteran picks, trying to defend picking a veteran, a more proven veteran at plus money, like pretty much my whole betting career. So when the dogs get by that I actually am not on, which is probably literally only like 10 or 15%. The problem is, and maybe this is just perspective and I'm willing to admit that, or accept that, I should say, but the whole saying, you always feel your losses and you forget your wins kind of a deal, and perhaps it's some of that, sure, but it is kind of annoying that not only the 10% when they hit, of course they're going to feel annoying, but again, back to having to hear it from feeling like everybody. They always seem like those where everybody's like, oh, who didn't, like people who usually aren't on that train with me, right? Because it's usually a pretty fucking lonely train when you're defending the veterans at plus money. So it seems extra annoying. The ones that I'm not on, everybody's like, how could you not have been on that? I mean, and you're just like, where were you guys on all the other times when I was on the trains, win or lose, right? So yeah, it's extra annoying for your boy here. Pushing on, Azamat Mirzakhanov defeated Dustin Jacoby. This pick was correct, and I didn't look that crazy again. You guys know me, I'm a big Jacoby fan. He's one of my favorite styles to kind of bet on, but it's a very dangerous style at this weight. I said the Arnold Allen kind of Max Holloway, even though Max Holloway won. Well, it's easier to be potent with those punches and moments, and Mirzakhanov is a guy who's really potent in those moments, and the southpaw reads were there. He even crooked his nose with the left hand, just like I told you guys with the Chris Camozzi one, right? Remember I said that on the podcast? You got to look back. It's not just a submission loss. He's actually tooling him up from the southpaw stance, Camozzi is, and you just see these patterns throughout his career with the left hands and southpaw stance. We missed a play though. We bet the under 2.5. Which may sound questionable to some, but you know what? Both guys almost finished each other before the 2.5 mark. It didn't happen. It's a losing bet, but I don't know. I mean, it's not a good bet because it didn't cash, but I don't know how bad of a bet that is. But at the end of the day, it doesn't cash, right? And that's just what it is. It just can be one of those nights, and that's the thing. I think it's healthy to kind of realize that, whether it's to make you feel better coming off a loss or whatnot, or like I said, kind of having realistic, kind of having a reality check and some God forbid, self-awareness after a win, or something along those lines, realizing how volatile these margins really are, really at the end of the day. I know I'm beating a dead horse with that message. Iwan Cutelaba defeated Tanner Bowser. I didn't watch this too closely. It looked like the Ben Rothwell, Cain Velasquez stoppage. Some people were complaining about it. I had a bet on Bowser to clean up in round 2 and 3 if it got there. But, just didn't get there. Iwan Cutelaba, if he's going to win, that's how he's going to win. So, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, no matter what side you're on that one. But at the same time, you can't really, come at guys like me who are taking Bowser angles or much less sprinkling small on them, given the volatile nature of Cutelaba fights. I'm going to turn some air on. I'll be right back, folks. I'm going to let this run because it's right here. My computer's loud enough anyway, so why the heck not? But yeah, okay, moving down the card, Pedro Munoz defeated Chris Gutierrez. I didn't really watch this one too much. But yeah, I can't really say much. I'm sorry about that. Same with half a Garcia, who looked like a full Garcia out there. Shout out to my guy Brad Taschuk for the half a Garcia nickname. But yeah, he looked like a full Garcia out there next to Clay Guida. Gets the decision. Clay Guida tried to get all cheeky with the mic. Algio defeated TJ Brown by submission. I put a round 3 flyer on that just because, I keep doing this on Algio, and he's got way more round 2 finishes at this point, so I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But, it was only a minute 40 to get into the next round. You could see the angle that I was going for there. The only bet of the night I think that did cash, aside from Max, was Royval Nicolau under, which was, I think, one of the better bets of the card. A lot of friends were on Royval and Royval by KO, and I honestly thought, I was tempted to play Nicolau because, I felt pretty decent about that. But at the same time, man, I'm a big fan of Royval and his style, so very happy to see him do well. Big fan of his camp. And it was also just kind of crazy. Again, just shows how crazy it is. Like usually, Nicolau is the counter guy, right? And it was Nicolau getting countered. So yeah, man, I'm very happy for my friends because I had multiple friends on that KO line. But I was like, okay, maybe Royval can win, but man, going for the KO, huh? I'm like, okay. And there it was, man. So massive props to everybody who hit that. Zach Cummings defeated Ed Herman via TKO punches, round 3. Yeah, that should have stopped. Ed Herman knew he was admitting he was getting his ass kicked after the first round. Again, retirement stuff, right? What was it? Clay Guida. I played Scott Holtzman, which, seemed like a, decent style take. He was favored, I'm sure not for nothing, but Scott Holtzman shows up to fight week, saying, I'm going to retire. And I'm like, immediately, I was like, oh, great. There goes my bet. And sure enough, and then, okay, you got to hear it for like the 100th time by everybody, Oh, yeah, you never bet on retired fighters. Everybody knows that. Ha, 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 ha. So I'm like, okay, all right, betting community always does these things. And never on my things. But let me go to the dark side. You can't beat them, join them, whether it's fading the old guy or fading the retiring fighter. And I go to do that, and, oh, man. Guy jumping divisions, and no. And good on Zach Cummings, man. It was apparently a memorable moment. I kind of missed this one too, which was unfortunate because it sounded like it was actually right up my alley. But yeah, Jillian Robertson defeated Piera Rodriguez. Say there, Daniel Zellhuber defeated Lando Venata. Very happy for Daniel and my guy Eric on that one. Denise Gomes defeated Bruno Bissell. Gaston Bolanos defeated Aaron Phillips, and Jocelyn Edwards defeated Lucia Pujilova, Lucy Puddle of Love. I don't got much to say about that one. All right, 2306. Was it like 10/11? All right, and belly. All right, we're going to push on to Bellator Hawaii. So it's been awesome. Missed the open workouts, but was there for media day and weigh-ins. A lot of interesting stuff for today's weigh-ins. Of course, Bellator 294 is headlined by Liz Carmouche in what was supposed to and still is halfway a title fight. As Liz Carmouche minus 550 looks to defend against the... she's minus 4. I guess the plus 350. Deanna Bennett, and the rematch from their fight a few fights ago for each of them, roughly. Deanna Bennett, of course, cites a hamstring injury that happened in the second round as to why she was submitted for the second time in her career. She's also been injured in fights before, like in her last fight and her rematch with Justine Keefe. She was able to still win that one, but was not able to wrestle. Not to pile on, but she's missed weight at multiple weight classes before. It's clearly been an issue for her. She, despite being in great spirits and, making quite the deep throat jokes with the mic on media day, making sure we were awake, which I appreciate, not hating. I'm a weirdo myself, so not gonna hate on someone else for being a weirdo, right? But yeah, man, she had a rough time on the scales. Tried 3 attempts and still couldn't get to. Would have missed if it was a regular bout. 26.2, I believe, was the final where she got to. It's funny. Liz and Alima were talking, and me and Matt Erickson were like, "What if they wanted to just." Have them fight instead, but you couldn't do it for free. So does Liz kind of hold out and reweigh in tomorrow, and they move the fight over? That wasn't really being entertained by Bellator officials, let's just say. But according to Liz herself, her and Alima actually talked about it. Like, we should just fight, because Liz, her thing was she trained to defend her title, and she's kind of just, and I'm not saying it in a bad way. I get it, or at the very least understand it, and I'm very sympathetic to these fighters, especially on the weigh-in day and the emotions of a fight week. But she, she's like, I came to pretty much defend my title. You can see the exclusive interview there on MMA Junkie that we got earlier. But yeah, and she was just like, I want to hurt her and retire her and punish her and da-da-da-da. And I'm just thinking in my head, I'm glad that Nate Diaz bet the inside the distance at plus 135 for 1 unit. Isn't that right, Nate?
What? Oh yeah, fucking sure. Inside the dick. Yeah, that's me. Sure.
Yeah. Nate, are you rolling one over there?
What? It's don't break the fourth wall, Dan.
Well, if that's considered it, but all right. I'll let you focus over there anyways. Nate's got a unit on Carmouche inside the distance plus 135. You know, and that's going to be my pick too. You know, Carmouche is very strong. So is Deanna. And Carmouche was pretty honest. You know, she was like, I'm not going to know how strong Deanna is truly because she missed weight as well for that fight that they fought. So you get that. You get, you know, the heavier fighter while they're still fresh early that she had to deal with. And then you also have the injury, which kind of clouds the sample size, right? So I appreciated Liz's honesty there. But looking at their styles and their focuses, I just feel like Liz is just going to be that much more physical and more skilled there. Even though Bennett does get you know, underrated for her scrappiness in closed quarters, but yeah, no, I'm not really seeing it. No offense to her, of course. Going down. Best fight odds, of course, like cramps everything together, which is great on my eyes. Saeed Soma, minus 190. Timmy Johnson, plus 155. What did Soma open? I just got done watching some tape on him, and I don't know, he's a self-admitted slow starter. He looks like a, you know, undersized, like Yagji Muradov type of dude. At heavyweight actually, but he looks, you know, yeah, he looks like, you know, he could make maybe light heavyweight. All they talk about is his swimming on commentary, that he used to swim at 210 pounds. Like, are we that desperate, or we're searching for stuff? We're talking about swimming. The dude opened as a underdog, and the line is flipped, which could justify a play if you like the other side on Tim Johnson, aka shout out to the MMA Analysis Podcast, Timmy Big Dick. I think one time I submitted that name for my staff picks. I was just up so late and delirious, and nobody on the staff picks listens. No offense, but listens to that podcast, and just see that name pop up. Like, Jesus. Although it's funny, I do miss being a part of staff picks because I used to like sneak in like you know, funny nicknames / MMA analysis style nicknames. And then sometimes some people would copy and paste my picks in the staff, and I could always tell who was copying and ripping my picks because they wouldn't like proofread it close enough. They would end up like using one of the stupid names that I used and perpetuating it, which is great. But yeah, I'm actually gonna go with Tim Johnson. Surprise. Soma, let me see. Did he face a southpaw? He's gotten hit with a lot of left hands, is something I was noticing, and I think just the physicality in the clinch. His defense is much better, but as far as offense goes, I don't think the offense, much less obviously the size. And even though he's quote unquote cleaner and maybe more technically sharper looking than Johnson, Johnson's his strikes still look impactful, even though they're not pretty. And I think that even if Johnson doesn't land clean, his shots can still speak really loud to the judges against a guy who's a little more clean, a little more of a counter guy, a little more of a low-volume guy, and a self-admitted slow starter. That is Soma, who was the original underdog. So I'm gonna take Tim Johnson here. And hey, Nate, do you want to play Tim Johnson?
Fucking Timmy Big Dick Dog. Oh, shit, what's he at? His number.
I'm trying to look it up now, Nate. Bear with me.
Nick, why do they call him the Bears? You hang out at certain clubs, or?
Nate, we're not going down that road. And it's okay if he, it's okay. Yeah, I don't think he does, but it's okay if he did, man. Should probably be even more of a Timmy Johnson fan. Wow, Timmy Big Dick plus 145. Wow. Nate, how much you got in your account? You want to lay in that? You want to lay a small percentage of it there? Is it worth a shot? It is heavyweight MMA after all. He's performing in front of the military, supporting the troops. You might feel that energy or something. What do you say, Tim Johnson? Huh? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. All right.
Yeah, I might lay some Tim Johnson, some Southpaw love, dog. Southpaw underdogs stick together.
All right. Well, we'll see about that. Stay tuned to see if that ends up on my record per Nate Diaz. So, alrighty, let's go down to the next fight here. We got Sarah McMahon minus 200 versus Arlene Blanco plus 160. What did this one open as? Yeah, he opened a little wider. Some money coming in on Blanco. Which makes sense, she was able to, not win, obviously, in a rematch with Cyborg, but survive. And, maybe the thought there is she survives against McMahon. McMahon's not used to carrying the extra weight. And, tires out toward the end there and lets someone back in the fight. We've seen that happen, right? So, I don't blame you there. I just want to stay away from this fight. I liked what McMahon had to say. She was all smiles. Let's see how much of the discomfort she felt had to do with weight cuts and the discomfort that she was telling me about in media day this week, as far as how she would start to feel as the fight got deep into it after making these cuts later on to 135. This is, of course, at featherweight. So curious to see how McMahon performs here. We got Danny Sabatello minus 400, Marcus Breno plus 300. This is a big test for just Breno, as far as a step up for him, a chance for him to put himself on the map. Looks like very much like a Leandro Higo type, a tight wound Nova Anyao counter strike guy who can punch over the jabs, who can work the body. He's got a nice left hook. Just looks athletic as all heck. Can be taken down, which is why I'm going towards Sabatello here. But looks like he's got some decent scrambling when he wants to. Wish I could find more footage on him, or have time to go over and find more footage on him. But from what I did see enough of, I figured I'm going with Sabatello. But I did kind of get scared because on my guy Nate's behalf here, because Nate, tell him what you did.
Well, I fucking me not to put Sabatello in a 3-leg parlay with Kai Kamaka and Annalise Carmouche.
Why Sabatello? Why not Medeiros? Like, we'll get to that fight in a second, but like he's a favorite. That's pretty high. Why don't you just parlay him?
Yeah, dog, I'm not really thinking straight.
Yeah, clearly, Nate. So why don't you tell him what I recommended as a potential hedge, because that paid out,
I thought it paid out plus 129, but it was the parlay you did. So maybe that's all for naught. But I did realize that all I gotta do is put 29 on Breno's money line plus 350, and it's a potential hedge.
I dig that. I mean, if Carmouche wins inside the distance thanks to your bet, that hedges your parlay, Nate, right? Plus 135. That covers the parlay and the Breno hedge, right? So we could make it up there too. So that's not bad. Or hey, we can make it up, with a potential hedge if Breno wins there too. I like the Kamaka leg. We'll get to that there in a second. All right, pushing on, Nate. Thank you. I was just watching some tape on this one. Levon Chokelly minus 200, Michael Lombardo plus 165. Nothing you should be betting on. Nothing I went too deep on, but from what I did see, Chokelly doesn't go southpaw enough to trouble Lombardo, who has lost to a southpaw before, in Kyle Dawkins. But left hands have hit and rocked Joe Kelly on multiple occasions. And Lombardo's got a decent left hook that he likes to throw and has knocked guys out with. Also has stopped guys with leg kicks. And for some reason, I always think he wrestles, but I'm pretty sure he comes from a football and just athletics background, just works with a lot of wrestlers at American Top Team. But yeah, I'm actually going to go left hook knockout. It's going to be my pick for Lombardo. That's at plus 650. Lombardo KO. I'm not playing it, just saying I did peek at that, if you're curious, Nate. I'm good, Dad. I'm good. Alright. Yeah, I don't really got anything on Kenneth Cross, Keyless Mota, Terrell Fortune minus 120. Yeah, I don't know, man. That guy scares me off. I'm actually picking Sergey. Why always Boris? Why always Boris? Nikita Krylov was looks like he's out here to be in Sergey's corner, and it was funny because Burt Watson, for those of you old school UFC fans, we rolling, yeah. He's given his like kind of Dana White speech to the fighters, and it's awesome to hear, and it's great because I'm looking at like Nikita Krylov, who's like a UFC vet at this point, right? And he's probably remembering back in the day before Reebok, while Burt Watson was still working there, going, oh, I remember these. Everyone loved Burt, man, and for good reason. So it was really cool to see Burt Watson doing his thing out here. Chris Lencioni missed weight, was kind of chatting with us. He's like, it's sweating coming off. He was talking to us he's like, I think I'm done. I think I'm going up to 55. He's bigger than I was telling him, I'm like, Chris, you're bigger than I realized you were like on TV in person. I'm like, I know 55ers are giant. I'm not saying you'd be big up there, but you wouldn't be small. And he missed by like 7 pounds. And Blake Smith, and Lencioni's like, I heard my opponent's was going to have a tough time making weight, but now he's late. He's trying to make it because he wants my money, And Lencioni weighed in at 152. Point something for a featherweight bout, right? Just ridiculous miss. And Blake Smith only misses by, I think, 0.6 or 0.4. That's all. 0.4 he misses by. And he's gonna make a second attempt. He really wants it bad, just like Lencioni warned us about. And like, you can't blame him, right? Like, holy crap, that's he could for sure get at least like 30% there, right? And he comes up again, and the guy goes 145 or 146, so he makes it, because it's not a championship bout. He needs to make 146. And I don't know who else caught it, but the media guy next to me, like, I don't even think he meant to, like, rat him out. It was just such a small room that you couldn't help but hear him. And I think the guy just had one of those auto reactions where, like, you're talking to the TV. That's what it seemed like. It didn't seem like he was like maliciously trying to rat the guy out, but he kind of like, I don't know if his hand goes up in points, but he goes, towel, hand on the towel. It was a DC. And Blake Smith hears him and makes direct eye contact with him and puts the hand up. And as that is happening, as he's putting his hand up and releasing, the guy is looking down, the commission official, and reads the weight as 146 that he made it. So the guy gets off the scale. Burt Watson doesn't see any of that. He just hears the 146. So Burt Watson announces on the mic, 146, baby, you did it. Congratulations. Everyone's cheering. Like, I'm feeling good for the guy, because you could just, I've been there, man. Like, you could just see not pro fighter, but like, yes, cutting weight for fighting or grappling, both. You could just see the relief on his face, right? And all of a sudden, and again, the guy next to me who said something initially, he didn't say anything after that, but I don't know if the commission people reading the scale heard him or they noticed it too, but there was commotion over there, and they were the ones that actually called him back and said, no, we need you to weigh in again without putting your hand on the towel. And he looked pissed, man. He looked over at the dude next to me. He's gonna want to kill you, man, especially after what happened next, because he goes back on the scale, and sure enough, he misses. He weighs the exact same. Nothing came off. 146.4 that he initially came in at. So it was a towel trick, and I won't say he, the guy next to me, but if someone didn't say anything, that dude would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those meddling media members. Holy crap. I was like, ugh. Listen, man, I'm very sympathetic. I didn't say nothing. I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, oof. Anthony Adams came out with his usual attire. He's plus 200 against Sharaf. Something minus 250. Had no opinions on that one. All right, that fight, that card is done. 41. 294 over. All right, we're gonna go over to Bellator 295, which is headlined by Patchy Mix minus 130, Rafion Stotts plus 105. Stotts actually opened as the favorite, and the line flipped, which part of me bums me out because I ended up leaning toward the Mix side, but it's probably, again, it's better that I don't bet, and I think it's better that even Nate doesn't bet this fight. What if I want to bet this fight, motherfucker? Well, Nate, let's end on a good night. All right, let's end on. I'm gonna end on a good night, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I get you, Nate. I'm just saying it from a betting perspective. Okay, so and it's tough because I don't want to say there's bias here. I still got to talk to my guy Eric Nixick, who may or may not was gonna meet up with tonight, but I know he's out here obviously for Kai Boy and whatnot, but he's obviously got a good relationship with Stotts. Stotts got a good relationship with him, but Mix also trains out at the gym. Mix came out here with his guys, as well as more unheralded coaches you don't hear of from often, from Extreme Couture, like Nate Pettit. So is it one of those deals where the coaches split up, or the coaches split up and help but don't corner, or it's just everybody's professional and is cool and can be mature about it and corner against each other? None of which would surprise me, of course, with the people all involved. But yeah, and not that I'm the inside info type, but no, I haven't been watching Patchy Mix train. But yes, you obviously there's a lot of good talk. He's been there doing the work, and it's been kind of showing with his results. Again, you look at the time, early 2021s to 2020s and stuff, when people kind of accrue these losses, I'm much more sympathetic. You don't know what was going on with gyms and whatnot. Patchy Mix was definitely dealing with that. And he just sounds much more mature, too, as well, talking to him. I noticed this week as well. Rafion Stotts, I always love talking to him. I actually am a really big fan of just his personality, his confidence. It doesn't rub me any way in the slightest except good. Big Rafion Stotts fan. I love this guy's energy. So anybody that wants to bet Rafion Stotts, I feel like he is the deserved favorite, although he shouldn't have been or he shouldn't be a high favorite, which he wasn't, and it flipped anyways. But the fact that it flipped, you don't know anybody explanation if you want to play the plus money. Hopefully that was what you got on either side of this matchup, was the plus money if you are going to play it. But basically I ended up going with Mix, even though Stotts could, maybe prove that he is a kryptonite by using his wrestling to keep it on the feet. And southpaw versus southpaw, trains with excellent southpaws like Eve Edwards. Stotts was scolding me. He's like, don't give away the game plan, man. The goods as far as the southpaw versus southpaw stuff, but he digs the matchup. The problem is when I was watching Sabatello wrestle him, I know Sabatello, obviously much more higher accoladed wrestler than Patchy Mix, but as far as wrestling in your frame and styles making fights, we saw that Sabatello was able to force back exposures, front headlock series. Now, Sabatello wasn't as skilled of a chain grappler, submission grappler / submission chain grappler / criteria savvy grappler, as far as adding in enough strikes, which is something that I asked him about, and he said he's going to make it much more of a point to be offensive from positions. We'll see how that translates, because we still got to see what his proclivities are. Perhaps he's still finding out that himself, right? So no hate there, just calling it for what it is. And yeah, but the fact that he was able to expose those positions, and we know what Patchy Mix does from those positions, it makes it really tough for me to look around that. So yeah, I'll be siding with Patchy Mix there. Aaron Pico, minus 700, plus 500, James Gonzalez, short notice opponent. Obviously, I'm picking Pico here. He looks big, man, strong. I don't know if he kind of has a kind of a stiff tightness about him, like in general. And that's just how he is. And again, we talk about playing near edges, and a lot of the on-the-beat journalists, they have an edge over me and many of us. The fact that they see these fighters over and over again, fielding the same questions over and over again, so they have a nice well of sample size to build off of. And this could be one of those things where maybe Pico's always like this. I'm not trying to spread information or put too much into it, but he just looks really tight, man. He's making he sounds like he was saying a lot of the right things that I like, as far as focusing more on drilling and training smarter. And I asked him if he was training more like a veteran despite still being young, because let's be honest, we've already seen some injuries, and he's got more miles than his MMA career would represent, obviously. And he agreed with that, and he's drilling and this and that, but he's still, making another fairly fast turnaround from an injury. So there's something there. Also a complete different stance, southpaw. From Pico's scouting, it sounds like a check hooker with some good kicks, which would make sense because from his own camp, which is Ray Longo and Sarah, is that he's more of a submission guy anyways, which would make sense. And you're like, well, why does he have technically one more KO than he does have a submission off the top of my head on his record? Well, I think it's 3 KOs, 2 submissions. If you look at it, like 2 of those are like two of those are like injuries and doctor stoppages, and then I think it's like early in his career is the other one, and maybe like he got the guys back and forced a stoppage. You know what I'm saying? So you got to take that in for account. And the guy's training with Ray Longo Jiu-Jitsu. What? Actually, it's Matt Serra, who's Gracie from your clan. Oh yeah, that's right. Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. What? But yeah. So he's a submission guy. Obviously, I'm going to be picking Pico, but the value, just because it's MMA and, the way Pico fights, we've seen go before, even though the guy's undeniably talented. I don't wish him anything ill, but, things can happen. So you're going to hang a plus 14 submission on James Gonzalez. I put .17. I didn't put, Nate put. Nate, yeah, that's right. What? Yeah. Nate put .17 U on that. All right, next fight. Jesus Christ. Kyoji. Oh, Kyoji. I forgot Pet O'Connor. He loves Kyoji Horiguchi. Speaking of a perfect return to the audio episode, hello, Kyoji. How are you liking Hawaii, Kyoji? Could you imagine how awkward that would have been if I asked questions like that? He actually speaks and understands pretty good English at this point, training so much at American Top Team, hanging out with Mikey Brown. Of course, he meets Ray Borg, plus 190. Borg, weird sample sizes, up at 135 out of the UFC. But even in his last UFC fight, despite a loss, looked good, showed some improvements in the boxing, in the pocket, the triggers, the left hooks. Really interesting stuff, but I don't suggest that he hooks with Horiguchi. And, could he back Horiguchi? I think he could. But, is he going to be able to keep it up consistently? I don't know. I think this fight could be much more competitive than the line leads on, in the sense that it could maybe look more like a pick'em. And if that's the case, you're more than justified to sprinkle on Borg, especially if you can get 2-1 out there. But I'm probably going to be picking Kyoji Horiguchi, despite liking how Borg sounds, but going back down to 125. That's the elephant in the room, right? That's the elephant in the room. All right. Charlie Leary versus Yancy Medeiros. Yancy minus 400. Leary plus 300. Haven't looked at anything on this one. Nate, can you tell us anything about Yancy? Nate's sleeping. All right, sorry guys. He ain't got shit. Next we got Mads Burnell minus 105. Justin Gonzalez minus 115. Is this one finally flipping too? My guy Mads, of course, I'm extremely biased here, so of course I'm going to be picking Mads over Justin Gonzalez. Justin Gonzalez, action fighter from what I recall, definitely deserves respect. Not hating there, but going to back my guy Mads, and may have to have Nate back him at the betting window if he goes to plus money, right, Nate? Yeah, boxing Mads, he's tight. Mads is tight. All right, Nate, it's pretty late for you too. I'm tired too. Let's get through this. I still got an article to fucking read, and while you're probably just making papers with my, marijuana fruit roll-ups with my papers over there, Nate. Kai Kamaka minus 270, 250, plus 200 on Adley Edwards. I haven't looked at Kai's opponent, to be honest. I just kind of, let Nate Diaz blind bet him in a parlay. But what do you expect, right? It's the Hawaiian bias that Nate Diaz has.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Nothing, Nate. Let's go to Sumiko Inaba. I'm sure.
Yeah, let's go to Sumiko Inaba.
Don't be creepy, Nate. Minus 135. We are taking men, sir. Vita Ortega. Plus 110. The female Diego Sanchez. Yeah, this line hasn't moved much. I don't blame it. It's a very dangerous trap fight. The hot new. Well, I don't want to say that in this case. It is an attractive female, but I would say the new hotness for. I usually use that for like Contender Series, and I'll say that for men too. But yeah, it definitely sounds a little too on the nose here. But yeah, it just feels like an on the nose trap fight. I'll probably pick Sumiko Inaba. I dig her. But you guys know me. I got respect for Vita Ortega too. I've bet Vita Ortega the betting window a time, or maybe two. I don't know. Keone Diggs, of course, got to have Keone Diggs on Bellator Hawaii card, minus 185. Weber Almeida plus 115. No strong opinion there. Big Diggs. Yeah, by the way, I don't think I'll be posting picks or plays because of maybe I will for UFC, but not for Bellator for obvious reasons. Bobby King. We got two Bobby Kings, right? Jesus Christ. There's Alan Cruz plus 100. Bobby King minus 120. No opinions there. Me and Nate will be staying away from that fight. Davion Franklin minus 400. Kasim Raz, no opinions on these ones. About to go watch them weigh in tomorrow, so I want to get through this so I can get some sleep. Bruna Allen. Yeah, I don't got any opinions on the rest of them. All right, what did that leave us for that one? 52-39. Not bad for that card there. All right, UFC 70, Vegas 71, UFC Fight Night, Pavlovich versus Blades. UFC Fight Night 222 or 23? What are we on here? Oh, what are we on? UFC Fight Night 22 is on. Heavyweights because it's always big guys. 3 middleweight announcements, only 1 featherweight. Do 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 do. Dennis on steroids. Do do do. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that announcement today, I was like, oh god, 3 middleweight fights, huh? All right. Yeah, we got of course we got Curtis Blades as your favorite, minus 165 plus 140 on Sergey Pavlovich. Blades opened wider, money coming in on Pavlovich. I get it. Potent dog. People are probably on the wrong side of him. A bit of that FOMO where they sneak up on you. I, of course, have been on the right side of Pavlovich, even when he's lost picking Overeem. So I've had a really good record for both picking, playing, even like talking about cage positioning on where Pavlovich is going to win. That being said, despite being a guy who has picked knockout guys to beat Blades before, despite even bigger odds, when I picked Derek Lewis to knock out Curtis Blades, not taking Pavlovich here, taking Blades here. He's been standing more, and which could be very troublesome here. He jabs from both stances, and Pavlovich is, when I say he works well off the jab, maybe I didn't articulate it well in my article. It's not that he has a good jab, and I'm not saying that he has a terrible, awful jab either that he never uses. He does have one that he uses. But what I mean by when I say that Pavlovich works well off the jab is that he works well at countering off of his opponent's jab. So that's going to be something really dangerous for Blades. That being said, I do think Blades is smart enough to grapple. I do think that the small cage will encourage him to grapple if Pavlovich's stupid power is not enough encouragement as is. And I do fear, again, being on the wrong side of the obvious wrestler, more proven product. And your guy that you bet on and picked is getting out wrestled, and everybody's "I told you so." And we've all been there, folks. Okay, at one time or another. That definitely don't want that either. But Pavlovich could score a knockout. He does have crazy, weird little short hooky punches, devastating uppercut, right? So what I actually ended up doing is laying the chalk on the under 1.5, which is something I never do. Chalk on totals, much less unders, much less under 1.5 is very much not my style. Perhaps for that reason I may lose it, but this is my bet, not yours, Nate, right? You fucking
take that bet, Doc.
I got Blades Pavlovich under 1.5, minus 142, 1.42 units to win. 1 unit is the bet there. I didn't really take anything else. Impromptu main event now, or co-main event, I should say, bumped up. Brad Tavares minus 160, Bruno Silva plus 130. This is a fight that's creeping me out, man. You guys know me. Stated bias, Extreme Couture bias, Hawaiian from Extreme Couture bias, but especially a guy like Brad I've been covering for years now. Good dude, friendly dude, always nice at the gym, always nice in Junkie Radio Studio. Tailed me on a couple bets back when it was before any of this stuff. None of that. It was a long time ago. I think it was like a Russell Doan bet or something randomly sketchy too. I was like sweating it once I found out, when I find out bigger people are tailing me for bigger money. But yeah, I definitely got to state my bias there. But man, let's be honest, Brad Tavares is ridiculously not just overlooked, but borderline, easily arguably, I could say, disrespected by the public, betting public, pundits, analysts alike. Right? He just doesn't get a lot of love. He's very consistent, not flashy, doesn't get finishes. People will say, "Oh, he's been around, but he hasn't really gotten finishes," not realizing, I know middleweight not the strongest division, but still, being around that long is really tough to do in MMA, much less the UFC, and the motherfucker has done it. And you've got to give respect to that kind of stuff, He's not Ed the Iron Man Herman yet, but, he's getting up there, man, especially with those guys retiring. He's right there, the guy had to grow up in the UFC. Bruno Silva coming off a really bad performance, to GM3. Let's not take away from GM3. GM3 did a lot of good stuff in that fight that he deserves credit for. You guys know me. I'm still a big GM3 fan. I'm not a fair weather fan as far as that goes. Still got love for GM3, baby. But let's be honest. If we were to find out that Bruno Silva wasn't 100% in that fight or something was wrong, would you really be surprised? Not trying to take away from GM3. All fighters go into fights, not well and whatnot. But is that something that would surprise you? And it wouldn't surprise me, right? So the fact that not only are people not fading Tavares like I originally thought and almost planned for, because I was going to just lay the money line on him straight, which maybe I should still do at this rate, close enough to my playable chalk. We'll talk about the exposure I ended up going with and how I'm trying to combat that, or how I can possibly combat that, I should say. But yeah, money actually came in on Tavares. Not a lot, only like 30 cents or so. But again, this feels like it should be closer to a pick'em fight. I agree that Tavares should be favored, but the movement is kind of sketching me out here. I got Tavares, of course, all day to pull away with jabs and leg kicks. If it does come to grappling, he can hold his own, even though he doesn't grapple as much as maybe I or others would like, sure. But I think he can hold his own there. If Silva does try to flip the script and go to his more semi-newer acquired Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, yeah, I don't think he's going to do well there if he tries that. So I'm going to have Tavares by decision. Bruno Silva, he could finish him. We've seen the random finishes from the Tim Bosch, the Edmund Shabazians, and then, of course, Robert Whitaker, which is less random. But you know what I'm saying? The point is, he fought that long. That's not that bad. And you consider, everything he went, which makes sense to why he tired. He was talking about his nose breaking and dealing with some injuries in that second round in the Third Reich's Duplessis fight, which would make sense, And now that we're also learning that Third Reich is kind of he's not really gassing. He just breathes funny, and he's just super awkward, and it's just what he does, right? A little more understandable. Even look at his fight with Izzy going 5 rounds and all the stuff that he came in with, the injuries and all the injuries that he acquired in the fight and how he still pushed through. So, you could point to those, 2 or 3 stoppages all you like, but the fact is the guy's shown his mettle and chin, toughness, heart, all of that, and then some in a bag of chips. More times than he's ever been stopped. So I think both these guys are durable, which I think is why the over is a solid play, especially if you're taking a shot on the Silva side and you want some type of hedge. Or, again, I can still justify it as a bit of a hedge because I think Silva's potent for a decision with his impactful strikes, right? And Brad Tavares, we've seen, despite tough Hawaiian chin and Hawaiian toughness, you hit him in the nose, he'll bleed his nose, or you hit him in the eye, you can still cut. He's a human at the end of the day, right, folks? So let's not get too carried away with stereotypes there. You could easily see, one of those things where Brad wins the minutes, but then the moments go to Silva, right? So give me the over at plus 105, plus money, 2.5, over 2.5 rounds, 1 unit. And then I ended up putting Tavares in a play with parlay with Bobby Green, plus 129. Don't got to pick how they win. Spoiler alert for the Bobby Green fight. And, that 29 extra covers that 29 we spent on that, or Nate spent on the Breno money line for a potential hedge there as well. So that's all I got, what Tavares is attached to. Speaking of Bobby Green, got him in some two-way parlay action there. Minus 275 over Jared Gordon, plus 210. I don't know who shared it, if it was Jared Gordon himself. It was like a super bad picture of like a veiny penis, and it just said Jared Gordon. And I was like, oh, that should be his t-shirt. That'd be awesome. I'm a big fan of Jared Gordon, his message, even his gritty fight style. That being said, trying to take down Bobby Green is a bad move. It's like same with Brad Tavares. Like, these guys are very underrated with their takedown defense. And even though they get crapped on for going to decision, they will pour on guys that are, that whether they try to power punch too much or try to take down too hard too early and blow their wad, they'll pile on to those guys as the fight goes on. Bobby Green's the same way. Bobby Green round 3 in decision lines. If you have those, I don't. I have even less lines this week, folks, because I couldn't even do my round robin because I realized that my BetMGM doesn't work out here in Hawaii, so my limited ass is even more limited this week, which is also why I shot a little bit more fun plays and had Nate and my Popadores throw in some plays, wink wink nudge nudge, if you know what I mean, because we had a little bit more to play with the bankroll in that regard. But yeah, I think Bobby Green takes this. I don't want to stress picking a method. I don't have the cool options like most of y'all do as far as picking a method, so I think he's just a solid parlay piece. But in case Tavares does fall, and we have the over there for insurance, but in case that falls too, and this doesn't make up both those, but it at least makes up one, and you hope you get the other made up by some of the other bets, right, in the grand scheme of things. But I also paired up Bobby Green with somebody else for another plus money 2-legger. So if Green fails, then 2 parlays go down the hole, right? Not good, but I don't know. I like, me, I like Green. And his 60K get up. Oh, this talk story pale ale, brother. All right, we got Joe Rogan Walker, Texas Ranger, plus 275. Versus Yasmin Lucindo, plus 350. Yeah, watch a little bit back on these. It's funny. Brogan Walker is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Lucindo just got her purple belt, but we saw what purple belt Juliana Miller just did to her, and that was not a great look. I know Brogan Walker's been around for a while. She got some deceptive wins, but if you go to those wins, I'm pretty sure I've called those out in the podcast before. Even shouted out friend of the show Drake Riggs for his lone scorecards, which made me feel less crazy in those Maverick Walker Sanchez fights. I suspect her size has done a lot for her, but she doesn't really train with too many high-level partners, so maybe that explains the level of overall / even the surprising grappling chops. I know rankings aren't everything, but, it's surprising. Lucindo really aggressive, can scramble back to her feet really well, good off the counter. Even when she's hurt, she will swing back as well as, but also still be smart enough to close distance and clinch. Go for takedowns that I suspect will work on Brogan Walker Sanchez, seeing what has taken her down before. I'm tempted to go Lucindo round 2 or round 3 to see what those are, actually. Let's see. Lucindo round 2. Plus 800. What did it open as? It's hard to tell with these motherfucking lines, how they list them. Lucindo round 3. Oof. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I sprinkle 25 ducats each on that, or $20 each on that. I don't want to see again. That's actually maybe not that bad of an idea, and hopefully you come out with a unit and you don't got to sweat a method. As long as she finishes in those 2 rounds, could be very easily a decision as well. But again, we're looking at minus 350, and we can take plus 800 and plus 1100 shots. I was actually thinking about playing this earlier, and my head's in like a billion different places. So I probably left it on the kitchen counter, so to speak. I'm going to go see what I can get right now on this. If I can go 20 up tree. Sorry, guys. Try not to get too close to the mic on this. Lucindo round 2, 750 and 10,000. Let's see what I can do there. Oh, it's 20 there. Oh, it's 150. So that's 130 if it cashes. If you minus the 20 that's exposed for round 3, which pays 200, just 180 if that cashes. If you include the 20 you spent for round 2. Bucket. Let's go. Round 2, round 3, baby. Boom. Dunzo. All right, I gotta add that to the fucking list now. Jesus Christ. Lucindo. Round 2 plus 750. 20 U. Round 3 plus 1,000. Of course, I didn't get as good numbers that was listed, which is the usual. All good. I still like the math that I just did aloud for y'all. Check that on Schmidt Online. Alright. Where are we? Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Was a good friend of mine. He fought Matthew Semmelsberger, and it's time as Fantasy Jewish Fight League this Sunday, swinging on Shabbos. Saturday, I should say. Semmelsberger Fantasy Jewish Fight League. Man, Semi the Jedi. Both these guys actually showed they were able to knock their opponents down with extended shifting combos, shifting into a southpaw stance. Jeremiah throwing the left to knock McGee out. Semmelsberger throwing a nice right on multiple occasions to knock Matthews down. Really impressive. How much of that with Matthews going flaky, where he both looks like a juggernaut sometimes, like the Li Jinglang or the Andre Filaho fight, and then he just kind of just drops the ball like Andrew Holbrook or, Semmelsberger, right? Like, where's it at in the Jake Matthews space-time continuum? Is that the ultimate question here? Perhaps, but we got to give credit because Semmelsberger has made legitimate improvements. Just like he said in his post-fight interview, that was a fight where he was actually showing that he was a mixed martial artist, and props to him. Jeremiah Wells feeling confident, riding high, knows it's his time to make his run. He's a little bit older, an athlete as well. I don't know if he played sports and whatnot like Semmelsberger, but both these guys are clearly athletes. Wells probably a little more pop on his punch, more power in that, more pop in that regard. Don't want to use the E word. That always gets overused for certain types of athletes. Definitely don't want to fall into those trappings. But yeah, the dude's definitely got some pop, right? Of course, he's got a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt in his back pocket and trains with really good grapplers. I think that's going to really come in handy. Unless Semmelsberger maybe takes him down and exposes some holes that we didn't realize were there. I don't think that's the case, though, which means he's going to be with a dude with some pop on his punches. And I'll take Semmelsberger. I think it's priced appropriately. This one should be tight. But yeah, I'll take Jeremiah Wells, the slight favorite. Christos Yagos, plus 130. Rick, the gladiator. Ricky Glenn. These aren't Sunday school kids. These are drug peddling midgets. What's your name? Ricky. That's what I think of when he changed his name to Ricky Glenn. Rick Glenn, of course, was scheduled to face Drew Dober at the pull-out due to an injury, needed a surgery. At his age, and not old, but the dude's been fighting for a minute. And watching him back in the WSOF days, Rick Glenn, this violent ground and pound, right? You guys know me, I'm a big Rick Glenn fan. I was on an absolute island taking him against Dawson, much less the round 3, and we almost got Rick Glenn round 3. Almost looked not like a genius, but almost looked like I was not dumb there, which was nice. But yeah, it was not meant to be, and that's kind of the pitfall here. What's it gonna be like? Rick Glenn, it's probably gonna need a little bit to get his sea legs under him, right? Christos Giagos already going to have an athletic and speed advantage, right? But it's kind of like what I always say with Ed Herman, which is probably a bad example considering Ed Herman and his, both his streak / my streak betting him. But in the sense of these guys were born slower. These guys were born kind of, having to climb out of those first couple of years. But I don't know if that noise is sorry. But yeah, it's probably going to be like that either way. Christos Giagos can start hot, and then, for one reason or another, cardio injury, putting himself out of position, what have you. We've seen fights get away from him, right? He's only faced one southpaw, surprisingly. That was Jason Gonzalez, who I don't even know if he got a win. Maybe got one win in the UFC, I believe. Seemed like a real dangerous big lightweight. Drew Dober faced him, if you guys remember. But this was on the regional scene over a decade ago, and he lost by submission. Couldn't find footage of it. So, yeah, Giagos technically 0-1 to UFC-level southpaws, for what that's worth. Should have some decent amount of southpaws to train with over at Killcliff FC, but... as we've seen it before, I didn't pick him against Giagos or against Moises, but I was like, Giagos sounds good, and he's making some points, and if he's gonna show it, it's gonna show it now. He's had a couple camps under his belt. Maybe the stars are aligning. Perhaps that could be something, but no, I think I ended up still taking Moises by submission, right? And that came through, and so that kind of, I don't want to close the door, especially me. What the fuck do I know? But yeah. I'm supposed to make a pick here. I'm going to go with Rick Glenn. And, minus 160, not a bad price. Came down, but do you really want to be laying that chalk, even if you can find it in a parlay to make it, a unit return? I don't know, man. How about instead of laying the chalk, how about I lay a third of that price, which is, roughly half a unit. Cut that half a unit into 25s. Put 25 on Glenn in round 2, plus 700. 25 on Glenn in round 3, plus 750. And hopefully either way I walk away with a little over a unit. Again, kind of similar logic of the divvying up the rounds of Lucindo there. And that's what I'm going to do with Ricky Glenn. Then I don't got to sweat a submission or a TKO, even though TKO is probably where it would lean for Rick Glenn in his history, so we'll see on that one. Montel Jackson minus 600. Hey, it's me, honey, everybody. Plus 425. Ronnie Yaya looks like he's in the background of a Weekend at Bernie's movie in the 80s. He just looks like he's teleported from a time machine, I remember that guy Ron Stallings that fought Uriah Hall back in the day. Ron Stallings literally looked like he was teleported from 1986. He looked like he was about to cheer Axel in Beverly Hills Cop, and then all of a sudden he shows up his mustache and everything. Ron Stallings looks straight out of fucking 1986. Holler if you hear me, all right? Anybody who knows that reference. Fucking Ron Stallings. Where did he come from? Marty, we gotta go back. Who's that? That's Ron Stallings. Don't worry, you need a ride. Sorry. Obviously, Montel Jackson is a guy I point to who, I feel like you are going to start fading as he gets older, especially trying to keep making this weight. We'll see how he looks on the scales. But obviously, Ronnie Yaya's old, has had neck injuries, pullouts, almost 40 years old. We don't know the state that he's in. I'm going to be so happy if he wins, of course, but man, can I honestly pick him, much less pick him with any confidence as an analyst? No, I can't, but that doesn't mean I can't play Ronnie Yaya by sub at plus 1800 round 1, which I did at 0.17U. I mean, if there's going to be again, I/Nate already did it on the Bellator card with Pick and Pico and putting a little bit on the sub the other side. Why would I not do it for the UFC card when it's my guy Ronnie Yaya? You guys know I'm a big Ronnie Yaya fan. Let's see how old Montel Jackson is. 30 years old. Yep, 24. He's about to be 31. So this is about where the weight cuts will really start killing you. And this guy should be 145. He'd be a giant 145er, and he's continuing to fight at 135. So yeah. We'll see how long Montel Quick can keep it up. I'm going to pick him here, but, my hearts, my hopes, my dreams, maybe not that much, obviously, but, got love for Ronnie Yaya in this spot right here. All right. Carol Hosa plus 100, minus 120 Norma Dumont. Kind of surprising there. Dumont has the skills there, but it's very piecemeal. Not as fluid, consistent, or the volume maybe that you would like. Carol Hosa volume has had flub ups here or there. Didn't look too deeply into this fight. Probably won't be playing it, but I'll pick Carol Hosa. That line movement interests me. What did this open at? Yeah, minus 225, some more flippage. I feel like I'm on the opposite end of the public on all this movement too, which it usually would make me feel good because I'm like, but the public. But, considering how good I've been doing, in other words, how bad I've been doing, yeah, it doesn't make me feel great, folks. Gonna be honest here. I don't feel great about this one too. Justin Tafa, minus 115. We'll see what he opened at. Muhammad Usman, Kamaru Usman's brother, minus 105. Tafa open as the dog, just a little bit of a flip, still staying tight where it should be. I'm taking Tafa. I didn't look into this fight though, folks, so be warned. I looked a little bit into this fight for the Southpaw Report. We got Francis Fire Marshall minus 210, who will have Kurt Batman Pellegrino, who of course you heard me and Brad Taschuk waxing poetic in our Fight Night 13 flashback there. He's going to be taking on William Gomi, speaking plus 170. Speaking of Brad, he refers to him, I believe, as Gomi's French bastard son, just like what do you call Ted Danson's Australian bastard is Jamie Malarkey. I think it's a similar situation there. Resemblance is clearly stunning. I'm going to go with Francis Fire Marshall. Instead of picking a method, I paired him up with the previously mentioned Bobby Green for plus 106, just one unit there. Karine Silva minus 200, Priscilla Cachoeira plus 165. No strong opinions there. I'll probably take Priscilla Cachoeira. A shot on her. I don't think I'll play, but I'll pick her and pick her in Town Master. Already too much exposure, including Nate's and Popo's plays. Oh, by the way, Popo put 20 on Inaba and 20 on Alima Lay McFarlane, which I didn't talk about Alima Lay McFarlane, did I? And Kana Watanabe, sorry. Taking Alima Lay McFarlane there. I'll gamble that she can get the better of the grappling, and if it turns into striking, I like her striking better than Kana's, so yeah, give me the dog there. Last on the UFC card, by the way, was Brady Highstand versus Dana Bagari. I didn't look too much in this fight, but give me Dana. The line movement makes me want to play Dana, but again, I'm already more exposed than a pervert hanging out in front of a Sunday school, so I will keep it in the pants there. All right. How did we do on time here? Look at that. No YouTube live chat, so I actually did pretty decent on time. Holy shit, I covered 4 cards, 1 recap, and 3 previews in under an hour and 20 or so. We'll see if I can get the recap and get out of here in said time. All right. Going to recap. By the way, sponsored by mixedmartialanalyst.com. Visit there. You click the Amazon or On It links if you shop through those godforsaken sites, and a small percentage of your purchase at no cost to you gets kicked back to this here program. It's very useful. Also at mixedmartialanalyst.com, my site, the host that host this here program, the Protect Your Neck podcast. There's also secure PayPal links, which of course you can find in my link trees, both at Dan Tom MMA on Twitter, which again, you can still find me there. I'm still going to just be doing minimal posting for as long as it makes sense, and on Instagram, Dan_Tom_MMA. Don't be a creep, but otherwise I probably should make a pro one anyways. But yeah, just spare friends and family, the shit that I gotta deal with. But yeah, feel free to support there. PayPal.com. I think Dan Tom MMA is the address. Daniel Tom MMA, or Dan Tom MMA as well on YouTube. Like, subscribe, 5-star ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. Please, it really helps. All the shares, especially on the Twitters and all those stuff, the way the engagement goes. They're trying to bury the journalists and stuff now who aren't paying and stuff, so I'm sure. So yeah, if you like stuff, all the more reason to follow, like, and engage. Really, voting with your dollars helps. Recapping now. Bellator 294, taking Liz Carmouche over Bennett, taking Timmy Big Dick Johnson over Said Soma, taking Sarah Mahmayan over Irene Blenko, taking Danny Sabs Patello over Marcus Breno. Got a little hedge on Breno. We'll get to that with the plays. Taking Michael Lombardo, upset KO perhaps, over Levon Chokeli. No opinions on the rest of the card. Probably taking all the favorites. Maybe Blake Smith, because he looked really pissed on the weigh-ins, because as I said. Bellator 295, taking Mix over Stotts, taking Alimale over Kana Watanabe, taking Pico over Gonzalez, but the Gonzalez submission play, which we'll get to. Probably taking Horiguchi over Borg, Medeiros over Leary, Burnell over Gonzalez, Kamaka over Edwards, Inaba over Ortega, reluctantly albeit. I'll take Diggs over Almeida. Don't really have strong opinions on anything else on that one, so we'll go to UFC, taking Blades over Pavlovich, taking Tavares over Blindado Bruno Silva, taking Bobby King Green over Jared Gordon, taking Yasmin Lucindo over Brogan Joe Rogan, Walker Texas Ranger, taking Jeremiah was a bullfrog over Samuel's Burger Time. I'm taking Ricky Glenn over Yagos and Carlos Candelario. What the fuck? Yeah, that fucked me up. Sorry. Taking Ricky Glenn over Yagos. We're gonna take. Oh no. I'm gonna begrudgingly take Jackson, but my heart is with Honey Yeah Everybody, as well as a small bet. Taking Carl Hosa over Dumont. Reluctantly take Tafa over Usman. Marshall over Gomi. I'll reluctantly pick Cachoeira over Silva. And I'll take Dana over Brady Highstand. Plays. Pobladores plays. She put $20 on Inaba, $20 on Alimale. Inaba was minus 120. Alimale was plus 120. My parlays, Tavares Green plus 129 1 unit, Marshall Green plus 106 1 unit. Nick Diaz got a fucking parlay in the house, which is Carmouche Kamaka Sabatello plus 110 1 unit. Potential hedge for that, Nate Lade Breno plus 350 for 0.29 unit to cover that one. I added Lucindo round 2 plus 750 0.20 units, round 3 plus 1,000 0.20 units live here on the show. Carmouche inside the distance is what Nate's on, plus 135 1 unit. Glenn round 2 plus 700.25 unit, round 3 plus 750.25 unit. That's me. As I teased earlier, even though we're picking Pico, Nate, but which I'll account for it. James Gonzalez by sub plus 1400.17 U. Speaking of sub, how do you have everybody? Round 1 sub plus 1800.17 U, despite picking Montel Jackson. Of course, just like my Action Network article, I put my money where my mouth is. I got Tavares Silva over 2.5 rounds in the co-main event at plus 105 for 1 unit. Of course, I took the under in the main event for Blades Pavlovich, under 1.5 rounds, minus 142, 1.42 units. I can't round robin, so I don't have a round robin to give you. But if I did, well, let's be honest, it would probably force me to do like Cachoeira and whatever other underdogs I picked money line, because it wouldn't let me do anything cool. But I would probably do Tavares decision. I would do Glenn round 3. Sound really confident, don't I? Sub, maybe. He's using a stupid number on that. I wouldn't really listen to me for that. Not much on the round robin. Maybe it's good I can't round robin this week. Look at that, folks. I'm going to get to my last article so I can get some freaking sleep and get this all uploaded. So thank you guys for your time. The shares. Hopefully you guys don't mind the audio. At least it's a little shorter. Good luck on your picks and plays. And always protect your neck.